In the name of my ancestors, peace forever and always. Welcome to another edition of the Reality's Temple on Earth. Of course, I am the host or the gatekeeper of this internet ministry. On YouTube, I am known as the Mighty Angel Snub Nuff 7. Your brother, and hopefully your friend, Taalik Ibn'rad. I hope you enjoy the video that follows this introduction. Again, peace forever and always, and respect you.
Man, you people that run YouTube are really not fair. I mean, you want to remove my videos just because some fucking idiot decides to flag it. But, see, here's the thing that I've noticed about you guys. You want to remove videos from black people talking about racism and black issues. But when white people get up here on YouTube and say racist things about black people and make racial slurs, I don't see these videos being removed. I mean, I've actually flagged them myself, but I guess YouTube is just racist. And I mean, the censorship that you put on people, you say you don't allow people to promote hate speech. I mean, or you don't allow people to give hate speech or whatever. But you gotta ask yourself something. Really, YouTube, whoever is in control of viewing the videos that have been flagged, ask yourself something. Are you really just a racist? I mean, because it's happened time and time again. I've seen black people post videos, giving racial discussions. I mean, just bringing up the issue of race. And all it takes is one racist person to see that video and push flag, and it's removed immediately. But racist white people get up on YouTube and make videos all day long, calling black people racial slurs and stuff like that. And I have flagged some of these videos myself. And I put it into my favorites folder just to sit up and watch and see if it's really going to be removed. But it's never removed. So, us black people, we need to get together and boycott YouTube, because YouTube is run by a bunch of racists. And this is really fucking ridiculous. I mean, it just doesn't make any fucking sense at all for YouTube to try to remove videos, and they only target the pro-black community. They only target videos of black people speaking upon issues of racism. I'm telling you. So, I mean, we as black people, we need to get together. We need to do something. We need to boycott YouTube. We need to fucking put our damn foot down and let these racist bastards know that we are not going to tolerate this.
I just want the world to know.
Greetings to all Apu-Rakani, meaning African, black people. Your brother Shangawanda here for our, meaning original people, united and restored, with another installment of our series to aid you on your journey back to the greatness of who you are by eliminating what you ain't. And brothers and sisters, you ain't no more. Not M-O-O-R, M-U-U-R, Aboriginal, Black Indian, pseudoscience, or any other I want to be anything but what I am nonsense these self-hating Negroes are pushing on our people. I know most of you are just looking for some relief from the hell this cracker done made for us. An escape from his ever-changing slavery. But you ain't getting no love, truth, peace, freedom, justice, or sovereignty with no document from these clowns. This useless, leftover black power movement trying to make a comeback actually denies being black because some white slave trader's dictionary told them black means death. So they claim to be the real white man. But they use another cracker dictionary called Black's Law as their Bible. Now that alone is enough to make anybody with any sense run from this bullshit, but there's a whole lot more. M-O-R-E. Let me make a few things clear from the beginning. First, this is not an attack on anyone who thinks there are more, because most of the people operating from a Moorish standpoint are sincere in their intentions to aid the race, with many doing good work with what they are working with. But it's time for y'all to grow up, move on, and return home to what is natural and healthy for us, and put all that energy to work where we will actually do some good. Now there are also many so-called Moors who are outright pimping the game, and plenty of card-carrying federal agents manipulating the various weaknesses crippling this movement. Second, this is not an invitation to debate, discuss, defend Moorish history, doctrines, or legitimacy with anyone, because we are only interested in debating possible solutions. That means possible solutions for the challenges threatening the survival of our people. The purpose of this discussion is to make the results of our evaluations available for consideration by those still unaware of the inescapable flaws that make this more science nonsense incapable of being a vehicle for the liberation of our people. The only reason we are addressing this foolishness now is because in their desperation to escape the irrelevant status their weak-ass doctrine earned them in the first place, they have now resorted to making even more ridiculous claims that are disrespectful to our honored ancestors. Some of these bean soup scientists have stooped to claiming that life and civilization started here in the so-called Americas before traveling to Fabricated. This desire to be anything but Africano, merely confirms their self-hatred. But their attempts to belittle the 500 million plus Holocaust committed against our ancestors by claiming it wasn't as bad as we think confirms the need for their immediate rejection. The Moorish Science Temple and all of its sects, versions, have totally outlived whatever use they may have had for whatever intentions they were invented for. Because we are in a protracted war with a diseased beast who has every intention of removing us from the planet. So anybody, and I mean anybody, who tells you that you have a remedy or a solution in law is a fool. Anybody who tells you that declaring our nationality will stop this beast from hunting our children in the street is a fool. Anybody who tells you that they have a treaty with the murderers of our mothers is a fool. Anybody that wants you to waste your time studying some cracker law books trying to crack the cracker's code is a fool. A fool and a coward. A coward who would rather jerk off playing semantic word games, debating definitions in their enemy's language, rather than do the work necessary to defend and protect the people from extinction. A coward who concedes the continued superiority of his enemy over him, who only wants to find the right words to put on a piece of paper his master will accept, or the right angle to put a stamp upside down or some silly shit like that. I'm a warrior. And a warrior don't want no document his enemy has the power to accept or reject at his whim. A warrior removes his enemy's ability to make war on his people. The coward always cries about, what about in the meantime? There ain't no damn meantime. The time and energy we waste in the meantime could solve the problem. These Negroes don't want to destroy their enemy. They fear them and seek their acceptance. They want to declare their nationality and be respected at the so-called United Nations, where the white nations of the world show off their complete emasculation and control of all African people. They don't hate their enemy. They claim not to deal with color, only character, based on their slavish submission to their absolute enemies, white religion of Islam. There can be no African unity, liberation, or solutions from a movement poisoned from the core with white supremacy. Islam that. Even if we look past the fact that the term Moor is really a misnomer applied by whites to people who never called themselves that, we cannot get around the reality that a people's identity must relate to land, culture, and history. And our story began in Afur-Rakayat, which are the proper names for our homeland that have nothing to do with any white people. Despite the latest efforts of their top freestyling historians to try to tie Moorish history back to our ancient civilizations, there ain't no such thing as no damn Moor prior to white infection. So don't even try slipping the feds on Heru in April. Oh, these niggas will try anything, believe me. Drew might not have known any better, but these fools trying to hold on to this obsolete bullshit know that only a self-hating fool would look at our great, long history and choose a period when we were under the influence of some crack-ass Arabs to defend our identity with, to define our identity with. He may have been naive enough to think claiming another identity like Richard Pryor and Bingo Long would get some of us a break. But you notice I said some of us because this Moorish game wasn't never for all of us. Look at their Sundry Act. That was just some light-skinned niggas trying to say they wasn't with the rest of us. Look at them now, running around trying to claim the first presidents were Moors, when nobody in their right mind would want anything to do with any black traders assisting this cracker to enslave the rest of us, true or not. Now, do you really believe that if we all declare Moorish nationality, the cracker gonna say, damn, all right, you got me. Your paperwork looks like it's in order. Y'all free now, we live happily ever after. Are you crazy? Everybody with a treaty with this cracker got a bullet in the back of their head. So fuck all the bullshit paperwork angles. Fuck trying to document some truth to your enemy incapable of truth. Fuck studying his gutter language and laws he changes at will to define our status. Fuck this more science bullshit. Cause it didn't work then, and the damn sure ain't gonna work now. I heard y'all on the promo video bragging about one of them more frauds who acted more like a fed, issuing his own tags and paperwork, but y'all forgot to mention how many poor sisters lost their cars and had all kinds of trouble with the cracker after paying this fool big money for some worthless sovereignty kit. That didn't even stop the cracker from locking his dumb ass up either. He had to hire a lawyer and beg for bail money like everybody else. What's up, Doc? Yeah, the term Moor did exist and was used to describe some brothers who did some great stuff. But they also did some fucked up stupid shit. And even if they hadn't, it still is not a name big enough to cover the greatness of who we are. It's been a long, hard journey back to reclaiming who we are. So let's not get stuck short when we have the information now to go all the way. We know that all forms of Islam, Christianity, Judaism, Hebrewism are vehicles for white supremacy. We know that Muhammad, Bilal, and all the characters in the Bible, Torah, and Quran are frauds, fictional characters invented by the whites to capture and enslave the African spirit the whites could not kill. We know that the whites and their offspring are just 20,000-year-old diseases infecting the several million-year-old body of black humanity. We know this disease cracker is incapable of humanity, and only through our total re-Africanization can we effect his elimination. Meaning, if we do what we are supposed to do, it don't matter what the cracker do. We know that African unity begins with recognizing that you are African, meaning Afro-Rakanu, Afro-Rakainik. Because when you return to your point of origin, you have made a complete revolution, which is our only resolution. Wake up, black man and woman of Afro-Rakai. Your only chance for survival is the rejection of white foods, white culture, white religions, and most importantly, white people. And the return to the culture and real religions of your ancestors who built great civilizations before and after the white cancer infected Mother Earth. The remains of these great civilizations that the whites to this day have been unable to duplicate serve to remind us that when we rejected the whites, their culture and religions, we held on to our land and freedom. And when we allowed the whites in, accepting their perverse culture and fake religions, we lost our land and freedom. No, you ain't no damn moral. You're Afro-Rakanu, Afro-Rakainik. Now take the oath. Set up an ancestral shrine. Let's go set your land and people free. Greetings to all Afro-Rakanu, Afro-Rakainik, meaning African, black people. Your brother Shangawanda here for our, meaning original people, united and restored, with another installment of our series to aid you on the journey back to the greatness of who you are by eliminating what you ain't. And brothers and sisters, you ain't no Christian. You can't be no Christian. You black. And if you're black, then you're African. You know that, right? You know that you are the sum total of all your ancestors. You are because they were. You know people must be connected to land, culture, and history to have an identity, and your ancestors originated in Afro-Rakai, Afro-Rakaiet. I don't want to hear about your Irish uncle right now, or your Indian grandfather. We'll deal with the invaders another time. Right now, accept the fact that if you black, you should be Afro-Rakanu. And you know what them Christians did to us Africans, right? Or did you forget? You know what them Christians did to your foremothers and what they did to your grandmothers. You know how they hunted and killed their sons, like they now hunt and kill your sons. You know the slave ships were named Jesus, and them Christian missionaries raped and mutilated our mothers and their daughters, along with our fathers and our sons. You know the Pope ordered, sanctioned, blessed, and cashed in on the enslavement of Africans. You know we didn't come here as no damn Christians. We came here victims of Christians. Now, you didn't forget. You did worse than forget. You forgave. You forgave them for the Holocaust they committed against your people, against you. You forgave them for the more than 500 million murders of your and my ancestors. There's no incident in history that compares to the psychopathic killing spree perpetrated by Christians against Africans. that continues to this day and won't end until we end it. They depopulated the entire continent. Do you think your brutally beaten, burned alive, raped, massacred ancestors forgave them? Do you think your ancestors appreciate you forgiving them? If you want to know, you can ask them. You can set up an ancestral shrine in your home today and ask them. They've been waiting to talk to you for a long time. They'll tell you what them Christians did to us Africans. But you think that's some old stuff from the past that ain't got nothing to do with you and what's going on now. Becky and John on the job ain't like that. You done had your civil rights movement, so you free and equal now, right? Besides, that could never happen again anyway, because ain't no way you could be a slave, right? Wrong. You're a slave now. Ain't nothing changed. You still love to eat a slave diet, calling it soul food as it kills you. You speak a slave's language, a broken version of your master's, with no interest in regaining your own. You wear his clothes and let them teach you to ridicule yours. You still answer to his names, cherishing them so much that you hand them down to your children with the devotion of a pet. But worse than that, you disgrace your ancestors by continuing to worship the God of their murderers. You're still a slave, but now your physical enslavement is managed by your mental and spiritual enslavement. That's right, now Jesus is the overseer, and them pimpin' ass preachers are their house nigga helpers. You say Jesus got you through slavery, but all he did was help you to accept it. Hundreds of years with Jesus, and you more enslaved than ever. Christian savagery wages war against you and your communities every day, but you love them for it because that's what Christ teaches. Have you ever wondered why you are the only people doing the forgiving, while the other Christians are killing everything in sight to get what they want, and they want everything? Doesn't it seem a little convenient that the people who have done so much to you decided to give you a religion that teaches you to love and forgive them for everything they do to you? They never gave you the good food, the good clothes, medicine, or anything else good. So what would make you think they would give you a good religion? But you keep talking about what Christ taught. Well, Christ ain't taught nothing, because there has never been any Jesus to Christ that ever existed at any time, anywhere on earth, black or white. He is a fictional character invented by the whites to enslave our minds and spirits in order to slave our bodies into extinction. The whites invented the three so-called major religions, Christianity, Islam, and Judaism, from deliberately distorted fragments stolen from traditional African religious systems that have been guiding us through good lives for thousands of years. Thousands of years before the white man was even on earth, much less making up lies and fairy tales about some Adam and Eve in some Garden of Eden. Talking about you found Jesus. You didn't find him yourself or choose him for yourself. You didn't set out and investigate or do as much research on him as you would before buying a car or having an operation. To give something so powerful an effect on your life, wouldn't you want to know all about it? Its origins, its creators, its history for evaluation and verification? Or wouldn't you want it to at least make sense? Don't give me any of that Jesus found you nonsense either. Somebody gave you Christianity and told you to believe in it. Scared you to death as a child with some boogeyman stories about how God was going to get you if you didn't accept some white boy as your savior. He told you some lie written by some women-hating homosexuals about how you were born in sin and the only way to be decent and acceptable to your master was through some made-up Jesus and some comic book of lies called the Bible. They told you it was a sin to doubt the word of God, and you would burn in hell if you didn't just believe and obey. What they didn't tell you is that a bunch of white homosexuals invented, wrote, and rewrote the Bible, often to the directions of whatever sick white people were in control at the time. Now tell the truth. That seed of the divine consciousness that exists in all black people, that feeling that you call your first mind, you know it be trying to kick in and question that foolishness, especially when you be hearing them silly Bible fairy tales that don't make any sense. But you've been trained to suppress the God and goddess in you and just keep nodding your head like a retarded bobblehead doll, shouting amen, without knowing what it really means. Those pimps getting wealthy selling you this fraud know your natural mind and spirit is always trying to lead you to the truth, so they push the faith kind game. Brothers and sisters, you got to have faith. Keep the faith. My faith in the Lord is my strength. I know you don't understand, child, because God works in mysterious ways. So just have another helping of faith. They're always talking about faith because faith means belief without question or proof, meaning accept blindly without any critical thinking or analysis, like a slave would do. So you cling to your faith. Most of you are in the church because your parents are in the church, and their parents were in the church. And that goes right on back to when white folks decided to share their God with you on the plantation. Your ancestors were giving whitey too much trouble, and they had to do something. Despite all the raping, torture, and brutality, they could not conquer the African spirit. In spite of centuries of the most inhuman Holocaust in history, the African spirit kept us fighting, kept us killing them, burning down their plantations and running off whenever we could. Centuries of burning our women alive after cutting their babies from their stomachs and feeding the babies to the dogs they used to marry and live in them caves with could not destroy the African spirit. So they came up with a way to capture it. They found a way to capture what they could not kill. They gave the world's only spiritual people their fake religion made in their image. They knew they could not kill our spirit to resist, so they gave us their fake God to hold us in spiritual limbo. They knew they were not strong enough to hold us in slavery physically, especially if we held on to our gods, traditions, and cultures, so they gave us a God that would do it for them. They robbed us of our culture, broke our traditions, and sold us a religion of slavery. They put the chains on our minds before they took them off our legs. They gave us Jesus, who told you to love and forgive your enemy, endure your suffering and hardship, toiling for them because this white boy will make it up to you after they kill you. Now you tell me, what rational, sane person would accept the God of his absolute enemy? You tell me what sane person would allow his enemy to teach him to be nonviolent after his enemy has been and continues to be so violent with him? You tell me what sane person would allow his enemy to tell him everything is okay now, the war is over, race don't matter, can't we all just get along, after committing the worst genocide imaginable to hijack the world's resources and use the wealth accumulated through slavery and genocide to build an institutionalized system of total economic, political, and spiritual domination designed to exploit us into extinction, while we sit like cowards in some million-dollar churches singing, "We shall overcome someday, but the Lord works in mysterious ways." Teaching someone to be nonviolent against extreme violence and to love and forgive the source of that violence is not only insane, it's suicidal. It's about as intelligent as telling your daughter to stay in an abusive relationship and try to love the man stomping her daily. It's as intelligent as trying to love cancerous cells in your body in the hope that they won't kill you. No, we were not in our right minds when we gave in to Christianity. And we will never be able to get back into our right minds as long as we cling to the spiritual chains of our enemies. We were brutally raped, murdered, separated, and tortured for centuries until most of us lost our languages, our culture, and knowledge of our gods. We were dehumanized to a degree of self-hatred that primed us for the imitation of our savage captors. He has stolen everything we had and convinced us that we never had anything. After centuries away from our homelands, outside of our culture, and with only the language of our enemies to communicate with, we finally succumbed to the insanity of Christianity. With the indomitable African spirit, even then, still fighting to make this nonsense African. No, the black church did not get us through slavery. It saved slavery. It institutionalized it. I'm amazed at the self-hatred still running rampant in the church with this current Afrocentric fad that acknowledges the African traditions that influenced the black church without any efforts to complete the return to African traditions and spirituality that is normal and healthy for us. Instead, the black clergy leeches celebrate their obvious self-hatred by clinging to the gods of their masters, proudly continuing in his service, keeping the black masses sedated with promises of a pie in the sky when you die. The black church does not and will never play any part in the solution for black people. It holds us back, and by its very belief foundation, serves as an instrument of white supremacy. That's why they continue to build multi-million-dollar churches instead of multi-million-dollar production centers as their children die in the streets from lack of opportunity. Wake up, black man and woman of Afro-Rakayat. Your only chance for survival is the rejection of white foods, white culture, white religions, and most importantly, white people. And the return to the culture and real religions of your ancestors who built great civilizations before and after the white cancer-infected Mother Earth. The remains of these great civilizations that the whites to this day have been unable to duplicate serve to remind us that when we rejected the whites, their culture and religions, we held on to our land and freedom. And when we were foolish enough to allow the whites in, accepting their perverse culture and fake religions, we lost our land and freedom. No, you ain't no Christian. You're Afro-Rakano, Afro-Rakayat. Now take the oath, set up an ancestral shrine, and go set your land and people free.
I just want
Greetings to all Afro-Rakano, Afro-Rakayat, meaning African, black people. Your brother Shango Wande here for our, meaning original people, united and restored, with another installment of our series to aid you on your journey back to the greatness of who you are by eliminating what you ain't. And brothers and sisters, you ain't no American. Not African American, Black American, Afro-Negro American, or any other nonsense they invent to make you think you have ties to this country. Being born here doesn't make you an American any more than sitting at the table with no food would make you a diner. Not when hundreds of years of preparation for your assassination are awaiting you at birth. Not when the wealth amassed from the labor of your bloodline is devoted to your death instead of your benefit, could those words have any meaning to any but those collaborating house nigger few. You weren't brought here as no American, and you weren't brought here to become no American. So you tell me, at what point did you become one? Not your so-called emancipation that launched waves of lynching, murder, and unbridled terrorism against thousands of black men, women, and children at a time, and still only considers you 3/5 of a human being. And you can't be talking about your so-called civil rights movement, where you got beat stupid enough to claim victory when they let you sit next to white folks and spend all your money with their businesses as yours closed. there was any such thing as an African American, you wouldn't need any 14th or Civil Rights Amendment supposing to grant you human status here, or be begging to keep a Voting Rights Act so you can pretend like you count. You would have the same rights as everybody else. You wouldn't have to settle for affirmative action to get a few of your children into institutions of higher learning, while the rest are railroaded into institutions of mass incarceration. Face it, you will never be an American, and you shouldn't want to be, because America's done nothing but try to kill you and everything that looks like you. From the moment those diseased, deranged, pus-filled cannibals landed here, up to this very second, they have waged a steady, deliberate, genocidal war of oppression and exploitation against the indigenous and kidnapped populations here in the so-called Americas. We have been raped, massacred, mutilated, butchered, brutalized, and subjugated. We've been lynched, tortured, traumatized, hypnotized, ostracized, and stigmatized as the racism ingrained into the fabric of American society, perfected over centuries, its institutions for our annihilation. But now, because they only call us niggas behind closed doors, we are supposed to believe they consider us free and equal, and let bygones be bygones. They tell you, that was all in the past, get over it. You're free now, so stop whining, and go make something of yourself like that nice Colin Powell fellow, or just be like Mike. Stop drinking the malt liquor our ads push on you from the day you are born, and stop shooting each other with the cheap guns we make just for you over the drugs we flood your communities with. Work hard for us in our slave wage retail chains, like Walmart's and McDonald's, that don't pay enough to take you off the public assistance that's already been eliminated for everybody but big business, and pull yourself up by your bootstraps. So what if they happen to be around your neck? And maybe, just maybe, you'll be one of the lucky ones that doesn't have to work 2 jobs to be broke like your parents did. I don't know about you, but I don't see any improvement in our relationship with America. Malcolm told us over 30 years ago, and it's just as true today. You are not an American. You are a victim of America. If the wholesale massacres, brutal slavery, and deliberate extermination of our ancestors were a Holocaust, and you better believe they were, then the devastation caused by the inhuman conditions the majority of us live under today must be considered a continuation of that Holocaust. A Holocaust that has never ended. It continues on, maturing, improving its methods and efficiency, masking its attacks in societal structures and legislative weapons of mass destruction, so that now profit is made as they bleed income from every aspect of our life suffering and expedited deaths. Slavery is now achieved through a business-serving economy that forces people to accept employment that won't sustain basic human necessities. Mass incarceration, fueled by the intentional miseducation of our children, the orchestrated unemployment of our fathers after criminalizing their inability to support their families, and the resulting chaos generated in the unnatural ghetto environments produced by their carefully cultivated destruction of the family unit in our communities. That's right, their carefully cultivated destruction of the family unit in our communities. Or did you think the exact same suffering duplicated in all of our communities across the country was some kind of coincidence. Or maybe you believed them when they told you that the people that built the pyramids and built America did this to themselves because they could do no better. The conditions we live under are unnatural, but they are not unintentional. Those statistics on crime, broken homes, and single female head of household are no accident. The permanent destruction of the black family was designed into the blueprint for America, and all of our laws, policies, programs, and budgets are written to enforce and maintain it, because the continuation of our exploitation as a resource depends on it. No matter how hard they try to convince us that our condition is our fault, that we should stop blaming the man for our suffering, that we are the cause of the crime, drug addiction, poverty, and despair plaguing our communities. We must never forget that the full weight of this society's resources, built on our exploitation, have always been devoted to keeping our families dysfunctional and our communities weak. That's right, they've got us paying for the war being waged against us. People don't choose to be poor. They are kept poor. Criminals aren't born. They are manufactured. Manufactured through policies written by a corporate government collage of millionaire mercenaries with interests at odds with humanity. We allow ourselves to get caught up in the fraud of citizenship, thinking we have the same options as white people just because they tell us we do. We buy into the publicity that we are the ones committing all the crimes, when the real crimes are still being committed against us by the children of the same white people who kidnapped and enslaved us through the government and business instruments they built with the blood-soaked wealth they inherited. And you go for it because they've convinced you that their war against you is over. And we are all on the same American team. Wake up, fool. Since it's clear that we are victims and not citizens of America, it should be equally clear that it is time to drop this delusional illusion of inclusion that keeps us dreaming that because we built this country, we are a part of it. Dreaming that because we have struggled and suffered so much for it, we must love and protect it like a child we hope will one day grow up and take care of us. We must stop dreaming that if we somehow prove ourselves good as white folks to white folks, they're going to accept us with open arms and we all live happily ever after. For us to expect this country to one day turn over a new leaf, start treating us fairly, is like expecting the gunman who shot you to work on your wounds. We are not them and they are not us. Our suffering sustains their luxury, and they will never willingly share with anyone. You must realize that the privileges you seek to enjoy with them are paid for in our blood. And if you want to survive, you better get it through your head right now that you are an enemy to America. Always have been and always will be. America's at war with you as you try to save America and integrate yourself into it. You have to remember, America was born in genocide, built on slavery, and sustained by the rape, murder, and theft of all the world's people and resources. We have the capacity to do for ourselves and uplift our own communities, not with government assistance, but without government interference. Imagine what we can accomplish for ourselves if we devoted our resources to our own benefit. The only choice we have is to unify as one African people, engaged in the business of race-based group economics and independent political organization, supported by independent military organization, guided by our own African traditional values and spiritual systems, with all of it owned by all of us. Because the bottom line is this: if you are not building black power systems, you're building white power systems. Wake up, black man and woman of Afro-Rakai. Your only chance for survival is the rejection of white foods, white culture, white religions, and most importantly, white people. And the return to the culture and religions of your ancestors who built great civilizations before and after the white cancer infected Mother Earth. The remains of these great civilizations that the whites to this day have been unable to duplicate serve to remind us that when we rejected the whites, their culture and religions, we held on to our land and freedom. And when we allowed the whites in, accepting their perverse culture and fake religions, we lost our land and freedom. No, you ain't no American. You're Afro-Rakai, meaning African, black people. Now take the oath. Set up an ancestral shrine and go set your land and people free.
I just want
Greetings to all Afro-Rakai, meaning African, black people. Your brother Shangawande here for our, meaning original people, united and restored, with another installment of our series to aid you on your journey back to the greatness of who you are by eliminating what you ain't. And brothers and sisters, you ain't no Muslim, because Islam is not the black man's or woman's religion. Not black Muslim, Sunni Muslim, Shiite, Sufi, or any other Arab version of white supremacy them savages invented to break out the desert and enslave Afro-Rakai. I know you were told that lie, that we were Muslims before we were brought here, and because I heard it from brothers talking about black unity and nation building, I went for it for over 20 years. But listen up, and you'll be as mad as I was when I realized I was still a slave promoting white supremacy. Oh, we were right to escape the made-up religion of Christianity forced on us by our enslavers to help us accept our enslavement by teaching us to love our absolute enemies and forgive them for the atrocities they committed against us. But we didn't do our own research, or we would have seen that white Muslims enslaved us before the white Jews financed the white Christians to enslave us. Our mistake was running to the best sounding of the only religions we knew about that turned out to be another made-up religion forced on us by our other enslavers. Islam didn't sweep the globe like some new dance craze. It spread by the sword, slaughtering millions and millions of our women and children in them jihads you be so thrilled about. It was brutally forced on us by repeated white invasions of Afro-Rakai. Them white Muslims that you love so much waged their holy wars you so proud of against you, fool. The call was Muhammad or die, as your slaving brothers raped and murdered their way into Afro-Rakai, stealing and destroying great civilizations across the continent. You wouldn't be so cool with them Salaam-alaikum if you knew the crimes your so-called Muslim brothers committed against your mothers. They destroyed your homes, your shrines, devastating good lives that we have been living for thousands of years before these barbarians had a home or knew what one was. It was your great ancestors they massacred as non-believers in those stories your dumbass be studying and memorizing with devotion. Yeah, they got you celebrating the Holocaust against your own people. How do you think your great ancestors, who fought and struggled against these crackers so that you could exist, who still guide and protect you whenever possible, how do you think they feel when they hear you exchange greetings in the language of their rapists, murdering enslavers? How do you think they feel when they see you falling all over them crackers, trying to learn their language with pride, when you haven't thought about relearning your own languages? Those same crackers cut their tongues out for speaking. How do you think they feel when they see you worshiping so-called Arab culture, knowing that it was built by desert barbarians who were murdering their own daughters before they stole the remains of our civilizations they destroyed? How do you think they feel seeing you embrace as your brother the savages who sold your mothers and sisters as sex slaves and castrated your fathers and brothers? That is the real history of Muslim expansion. So don't let them confuse you by saying it was the Arabs and not the Muslims. It was the Muslim Arabs. That's how Islam went across the globe. Now the most self-hating and confused among you will claim that I am being racist. And Islam don't deal with a person's color, only his deeds. When deep down they know there ain't a cracker Arab in the world that don't see his color and may pretend to accept him, but never as equals. Always regarding you as their pet black Muslim brother that's always going to need their guidance. The slave in you will defend the genocide of your own people with something the cracker taught you, like people in all religions did bad things, but that's not the religion. The religion means submission to God and a bunch of other stuff you to memorize without realizing that we are always the only ones taking these fake religions spiritually to heart, while the crackers who gave us this nonsense only talk the talk. Now tell the truth. Most of you are Muslim because either you or your parents thought you were rebelling against your slave master when you put in that transfer to Islam. You thought because your slave master doesn't like Muslims, Islam must be worth checking out. But did you ever stop to think about why you are willing to look into everybody's religions but your own, even though all theirs was stolen from yours? You went through 3 or 4 flavors of Christianity, 2 or 3 versions of Islam, stopped by the Buddhists, and some of you even trying to be Jews. But not once did it cross your brainwashed, traumatized mind that you might have had a religion of your own, because you've been trained to hate yourself so much that you don't want nothing black. It never occurred to you that you had real religion before them crackers forced theirs on you. Because the greatness of your own history, culture, and religions and accomplishments were hidden from you so well that you became ashamed of your blackness, often denying your own ancestors and homeland. Your desire to somehow be complete leads you to try on every culture but your own, desperately trying to force-fit an African spirit into an alien, anti-African dominated world. So you go from one fake white religion to another, imitating their poor imitation of what they stole from you, seeking love and acceptance from your absolute enemies. But you couldn't have checked out your Islam too thoroughly, or you would have noticed that Islam ain't nothing but Arab Christianity. Nothing new or different than the same old Christianity you already figured out was bullshit. Except Jesus got a demotion. You still get to bow down, worship white people, and learn another slave master's language. It's just another sect with its own sects. A splinter group that broke off from the Christians and invented their own prophet so they could change all the things they didn't like about the version of Christianity that was winning at the time. You see, Christianity has been warring amongst itself since it was invented over which lie will work best to rule the world. Some of them didn't want Jesus to have taken a human form. Some didn't want him to be the Son of God. And it took hundreds of years and much fighting and bloodshed for them to decide that they would do better with the whole Father, Son, Holy Ghost nonsense. And of course, not everybody was happy. One of those groups invented their own prophet, loosely based on the life of some popular mystic of the time, and bam, you got Mohammedanism, which changed its name to Islam about 100 years ago. So all you really did was trade in the bearded white Jesus for the bearded white Muhammad. You fell for the old, my best friend was a black slave routine. Islam believes in all the same silly-ass fairy tales in the Bible that don't make any sense to you about fictional people that never existed at no time or place on earth, that can't be documented anywhere. What? Nobody cared enough about anybody in the Bible or Quran to remember or mark where they were buried? It's time to grow up, move on, and come home. You're probably mad now because they told you Islam is the pure, perfected religion. But if it's so perfect, please tell me, what kind of God allows slaves for you to be fair to? Gives instructions on wife beating, or promises your silly ass virgins in paradise. Only the homosexual, dissexual white race could come up with such women-hating nonsense. Only the homosexual white race could come up with these fake religions with nothing but hatred for the feminine principle. No Afurakanu or Afurakaitni in his or her right mind could conceive of a God without the balance of a goddess. But you swallow it up because they let your broke-ass jackleg marry a bunch of sisters into misery and poverty in your welfare harems. After all Elijah did to clean you up and respect your women as the queen of the universe, your migration to the so-called Sunnah has you again allowing the mistreatment of black women. Don't get me wrong, because I'm not promoting any black Islam as an alternative. Let's make this clear. Ain't no version of Islam good for black people, because there's no reason for us to cling to interpretations of our own spiritual systems bastardized by whites into their own image for their own promotion. All three of the so-called major religions were invented by the whites from deliberately perverted fragments, pieces stolen from our own traditional spiritual systems. The stories that went into the creation of the three-of-a-kind white religions, meaning Christianity, Judaism, and Islam, were stolen from you. And the true uncorrupted information is still available, written right on the walls of tombs, papyri, and structures we built thousands of years before there were any whites on the planet, much less making up lies about any Adam, Abraham, Moses, Jesus, or Muhammad. All three of these white religions place the beginning of life around 6,000 years, because that's around when their history starts, totally ignoring the fact that black people have been documented to exist and build great civilizations on this planet for millions of years. Are you so dumb as to allow your enemy to convince you that we did not know God all those years and lived thousands and thousands of generations in peaceful prosperity with no connection to the divine? Do you hate yourself so much that you think we needed the cracker to come along and introduce us to God? Every one of us has the capacity to communicate directly with divine, having no need for fake prophets or messengers to be sent with silly threats of hellfire. Now, brothers and sisters, think about it for a second. Knowing what you know about white people in general, knowing that at no time in his brief history on this planet has he been able to live in harmony with any people, plant life, animal life, the elements, or the planet itself, what would make you think that any one of them were capable of any relationship whatsoever with anything divine? Ain't no God nowhere, at no time or no place, ever talk to no white man or woman, he is a cancer. And like every other cancer, he seeks to dominate and destroy whatever he encounters. He is a creature of disorder and therefore repulsive to divine order, an enemy to anything divine or divinely created. He and his offspring were not created, they came about. Once healthy cells whose spiritual degeneration resulted in a physical degeneration up in them caves, inbreeding and marrying animals over the last ice age. A degenerative, melanin recessive mutate with no way to connect to the divine or divine order that cannot be documented to exist on this planet 20,000 years, amounting to just a disease infecting the several million-year-old body of black humanity. That doesn't mean Muhammad was black any more than Jesus was black. Neither one was black because neither one ever existed on this planet in human form. Islam is not your religion, black man or woman of Afro-Rakayat, any more than Christianity is your religion. They are the fake religious chains of your slave masters who have fed on us for too long. Ain't no white nowhere in history ever lived well without feeding off us. Just as the Roman Empire sustained itself off the rape of Afro-Rakayat and the theft of its resources, the Arab empires were also built off our backs and our resources. Don't you think it's time we gave all these fake religions back to our enemies and got together to stop the whites' current efforts to feed off us by pulling all of our resources together for our use and benefit? When you return to your point of origin, you have made a complete revolution, which is our only resolution. Wake up, black man or woman of Afro-Rakayat. Your only chance for survival is the rejection of white foods, white culture, white religions, and most importantly, white people, and the return to the culture and real religions of your ancestors who built great civilizations before and after the white cancer infected Mother Earth. The remains of these great civilizations that the whites to this day have been unable to duplicate serve to remind us that when we rejected the whites, their culture and religions, we held on to our land and freedom. And when we allowed the whites in, accepting their perverse culture and fake religions, we lost our land and freedom. Nah, you ain't no damn Muslim. You're Afro-Rakayat. Now stop making a fad out of an Arab fraud. Take the oath, set up an ancestral shrine, and go set your land and people free.
Peace forever and always. Welcome to another edition of the Reality's Temple on Earth. Your host is his divine masculine brother AdMinister Taalik Ibn'rad,